We all right? All right. All right. We on live, right? All right. I want to welcome everybody here to the We Up Report. This is your host, Mr. Blow Your Minds, and we are about to get into this live broadcast. And before I get into that, I want to first give us some thank you for people who support this show. First, I want to go out and say special thanks to Mr. Spencer 0620 again for his Cash App. We appreciate so much of him and his support. And my hats off to him, his family, and all those others who participate and do that. So let's go ahead and we're going to get into today's show. And let's go ahead and start off as everybody probably on their way getting in here, but we're going to start off anyway. Let's get it.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit education or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. This video was made for entertainment purposes and is transformative in nature.
You made kind of a provocative comment in your new book here, Mug, and I think it's on page 151. You write that various groups, feminist, gay rights groups, and those who are defending immigrants have commandeered the black civil rights experience.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that because I think it's one of the most important points of the book. I mean, I think the way liberals have treated blacks like children and many of their policies have been harmful to blacks. At least they got the beneficiary group right. We do have to, we shouldn't. There is the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow laws. We don't owe the homeless. We don't owe feminists. We don't owe women who are desirous of having abortions, but or gays who want to get married to one another. That's what civil rights has become for much of the left. They dropped the blacks after 5 minutes.
Immigrant rights are not civil rights?
No, I think civil rights are for blacks.
See, this is essentially the problem, and the Republicans don't understand.
What have we done to the immigrants? We owe black people something. We have a legacy of slavery. Immigrants haven't even been in this country.
But you see, most of us are either immigrants or are the descendants of immigrants, and we understand that not everybody. There are Native Americans in, but we understand in this country. We understand in this country that kind of self-deportation, making things so difficult for immigrants, for undocumented immigrants, that they have to leave, or the DREAM Act, vetoing, threatening to veto the DREAM Act, which is what Romney has said. And again, we have Governor Romney, who is basically taking a position that is anti a large and the fastest growing segment of the electorate.
And here's the thing, if Republicans don't do something with immigration, and if Republicans are so far away from Latinos, they're going to lose not only this election, they might lose the White House for generations.
The future.
And Texas could turn from
That's why the Democrats
are
dropping the blacks and moving on to the
Hispanics.
because they're a larger group of Hispanics now. But could I just say to Jorge, I hate to disagree with you when you're attacking President Obama, but I think the point on immigration is you can have open borders or you can have a welfare state. You cannot have both.
You said your people have been fighting for 400 years.
Man, your peoples too.
So I just want you to explain what you mean by that.
You know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about, man. Don't sit up here and try to bait and not know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what the I talk about when I say these things. Your people too.
Explain it. Not everybody knows what you're talking about.
Radio Raheem, I don't have to explain what's understood, man. You know what I mean by that. You know what I said by that. I ain't got to go further. And if anybody don't understand that, then God be with them. Go look up the history. Go look up the history. Don't everybody believe in Google? Go Google that. See what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, man. You know what. I dare you to sit up there and say, explain. You know what I'm talking about, man. He's fighting people. You know we've been fighting 400 and still fighting to this day. To this day. To this day. You just sit here, you don't know.
And since the American white man has used his control over the press and over the textbooks and over all forms of media to make it appear that he has done us a favor by bringing us here and enslaving us, rewrite history or retell history. And since the white man can't dispute this truth. It's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here. It's truth. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated. It's truth. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
Most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. Again, I'm your host, Mr. Blow Your Minds, and this is We Up Report. First of all, I also want to say, since nobody's in the house, I'm by myself. What's good to my fam? My day ones, my original day ones, passerbys to be able to pass by. This is the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. Having to go down through my archive, see some things that make you feel some kind of way. Remember, the motto of my show is the truth. Don't need no partner. So, Mr. Blow Your Minds, you've been out. Look like it's been a little bit more than a week or so more. We've been anticipating a couple of new people out here. There's a couple of new people out there. One in particular asked about me and my transition about the horn, but I ain't see you subscribe, so I guess that's on hold until further notice. So anyway, I'm going to go in, because as you see the thumbnail, right? We're going to talk about that thumbnail that I got up there. Awakening to the reality of the game. Let me say that one more again. Awakening to the reality of the game. What do you mean by that, Mr. Blow Your Minds? Well, when you become, like we say, we up, you hear they talk about woke act. You're saying people saying they're now woke. People are becoming more conscious. But in this game of this awakening, people come to find out the truth about a lot of things, and some people are not happy with that. As more people become awake, more things are coming revealed, more truths that have been hidden are coming to be known. And there's a particular truth that through my studies and times of doing this, I found that there was always something hidden behind the curtain that many of us did not know. Now I see a lot of brothers and sisters who are out here who are teaching and disseminating information and things like that. And what they're saying is, people say, well, some people's perspective is about color. Others say it's about politics. Others say that what happened in the past is not relevant or to this day. And there's some truth in each one of those. But when we talk about this game that those of us who live here in this United States, and the things that have kept us as a people and been used as legislation and law. And there was a hidden thing. When you talk about CRT, right, critical race theory, and you see that critical race theory is primarily about law. And something about some of our brothers and sisters and our ancestors who was in them 50s and them 60s start realizing there was things in the law that did some detriment to a group of people that became disenfranchised. And so I wanted to take this time here to show something and show that, as you see on your screen, rescind the doctrine. Rescinding the doctrine is one aspect, and then there's another doctrine. So in this case, I would have to say that did you not know that we have a double whammy that has been laid upon us, and many people don't even know what that double whammy is. But when you see rescind the doctrine, that means something, but there's also another doctrine that's compound on top of, or as a matter of fact, sits underneath it, That's when you have these powers that people said that there's something that has spells on people. There's something that is a hidden behind the curtain, a power that has been put upon us. Well, guess what I stumbled across in my researching of years of doing these things. Today, I want to bring this out because as you see on the thumbnail there, you see Kanye West, right? And Kanye came to awakening of about a situation himself, a truth that he had unraveled, that he felt like maybe he could touch a certain aspect of his popularity and fame, but he found out it was a glass ceiling. Well, what if I tell you, as a people, there has been a glass ceiling, there has been something that has had you encased, but the way that you move, you believe you had no leash. You felt like there was no walls that prohibit you, and they even enforced it and reinforced it by kept telling you something from a trance mantra that you are free and that what happened in the past was over. But what if I tell you, and what if I show you that that was not true? Would you believe it? Would you say, oh, Mr. Blows Your Mind, you're making that up. You're still stuck on that stuff. We're past that. All right, you could say that. But in this show here in particular, when I get done with this, right now, this is your chance to get out. This is the break the glass case of emergency. If you don't want to disturb what you always believe, this is the time for you to get out. But if you should stay, you won't ever be able to say you did not know. Are you ready for this? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into this awakening to the reality of the game. We're going to start with this.
Pope Francis presiding over the second and final Mass of his Canadian tour, with the service Thursday at the Basilica of Saint Anne de Beaupré outside of Quebec City.
Au nom du Père et du Fils et du Saint-Esprit.
The theme, reconciliation. Hundreds of Indigenous peoples, including residential school survivors, gathered inside to hear the message firsthand.
In confronting the scandal of evil and the body of Christ wounded in the flesh of our Indigenous brothers and sisters, we too have experienced deep dismay. We too feel the burden of failure.
Just before the Pope's first words, a brief protest saw a banner with the words, "Rescind the Doctrine," unfurled on the floor of the Basilica. Demonstrators are demanding the Pope renounce 15th century edicts, known as the Doctrine of Discovery, that the papacy used to justify the taking of indigenous land. It wasn't immediately clear if the Pope saw the message. Outdoor viewings of the Mass also shown on big screens in the Quebec City area. While the Pope received a warm welcome from some Thursday morning, others want more from the head of the Catholic Church.
He didn't apologize of the Catholic Church running the 60% of the residential, over 60% of the residential. He didn't apologize for that. He came here, I don't know, and asking for forgiveness. I don't know, not for me anyways.
Politicians, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, were also in attendance for the Mass.
And a day after Trudeau met privately with the Pope, he says they discussed the importance of the Roman Catholic Church's role, their continued work with Indigenous peoples to advance healing and reconciliation. And the PM says the need for the Church to take real, concrete action. Now, I want to go back to that protest banner, the message that they were carrying there. Now, back in 2018, the Assembly of First Nations actually looked ahead to this papal visit with something called the Dismantling the Doctrine of Discovery report. Now, in it, they write, how is it possible that any pope, king or queen or explorers from Europe could discover lands in the New World if Indigenous peoples were already occupying such lands according to our own laws and legal orders? They go on to say it is the hope of AFN that when Pope Francis comes to Canada, he will publicly renounce discovery. And time is running out. The Pope travels to Iqaluit Friday for his final stop before heading back home to the Vatican. Melissa Duggan, City News.
We are back, right? We are back. So as you've seen on your screen there, I was showing you about there was the rescind the doctrine, where the Pope is doing his tours over country. He was just maybe about a couple months ago, maybe 1 or 2 months ago, was over in Canada. And he is doing a tour where you heard that one gentleman in there talking about maybe looking for forgiveness, or, you know, just kind of doing what landlords do with their tenants, checking on their property. Well, the thing is about rescind the doctrine that many of us, again, depending on, you know, the inquisitiveness that one has when it comes to seeking for information and finding out what the truth is. Rescind the doctrine has something to do with how did we, as those, again, Black and people of color around the world, what was it that was used to what they call imperialism, what they call colonization? What was that they used to justify what they did? Well, they call it the doctrine of discovery, right? And we'll talk about a little bit of that for some of those who don't know anything about that. But the Pope in itself was doing his tour. And as you heard, maybe there's trying to be some forgiveness. But if you're not going to rescind the doctrine, then what would be the purpose, right? So just in case for those of y'all who never heard of rescind the doctrine or doctrine of discovery, how about that? Not rescind the doctrine, but it's called the doctrine of discovery, 1493, right? Oh, wait a minute, you going way back there? Hey, A is for apple, A is the beginning, A is the alpha. So if anything you're trying to resolve and get to the truth, you must get to the beginning of the cause and the effect. Now, in 1493, they called it the doctrine of discovery. And this doctrine that they used was set up by the Vatican, the Pope, right? When it was a papal bull that was written that gave jurisdiction to those, when we're talking about, say, Spain and Portugal, right? When we're talking about, again, colonization, when we're talking about imperialism. But let me show you what the justification was in this doctrine. Let me see if I can show you this, right? So as you see on your screen, it says, however, if the indigenes have advanced beyond the state of nature, only so far as to have developed language and the community of the family, but no further, if they had not yet mixed their labor with the earth in any permanent way, or the regions were literally unattained, then Europeans considered it to be terra nullis. It's a belonging to no one, to which they might gain permanent title by first discovery and effective occupation. This is the mindset that those who set up the doctrine, how they're able to come into the territories of what we call the Americas and any other place. It was under this doctrine that they use, in the mindset that they had and have, is how they was able to justify what they say. So what are they saying, Mr. Blow Your Mind? You know, over here where we go, blue, 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 blue. When I say blue, 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 that means there used to be, when I was coming up, there was cartoons that come on called Two Little Indians. And one of the Indians could speak English and the other one spoke blue, 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 blue. And then they had to ask him what would him say. He was the interpreter. So I'm going to be the interpreter for what I just read to you. Some of that might be blue, 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 blue to you. So I have to interpret to the best of my ability, right? So what they saying is that those be the indigenous of the lands that they had coasted and come upon. And they was like, well, if they were only, let's say, using nature and they had families, right? That's natural. That's what everyone around this globe does. But yet they think you barbarians and savages. But if you had that much, that's okay. But if you didn't use the permanent, if you didn't build structures, if you didn't have something that I'm still trying to figure out those from at that particular time, what civilization going back in the antiquities of Europe, what structures are there other than they talk about Rome and how that's all bombed up and blown up, right? But anyway, here's the doctrine they saying is, well, if we go around the world and if we go to these people who we consider indigenous, but if they don't have any structures that show some civilization, it allows us under our doctrine to be able to go amongst these people and we can claim first dibs and say, we discovered it. This is what they said. I didn't say that. You've seen it right there on your screen. I didn't make that up. I didn't type that up. This is where they come with that, right? So with that being said, and now we in the day and age now, and they say it's 2022. People are saying they're trying to make curves straight. They're trying to put the round peg with the round peg, right? Trying to make everything fit according, not the old square peg in a round hole. We're trying to make things straight and right. At least that's what people are professing and saying. But let's look at this, because you have people, we talk about here in the United States, and knowing they have origins of other places, come here and think that somehow this game that they're playing gives them some kind of rights over people who are, according to this, indigenous. And if you're an indigenous person, that means you should be having first dibs. You should be running what it is, but they don't give it to you in that more formal fashion, do they not? But under the doctrine of them going around and discovering, well, they said that they didn't build. But there's some of our brothers and sisters in this black corner of the internet that we call YouTube who teach and tell you and show you that we had structures. There were buildings here and places and all around, but what ended up happening to them is also going to be a mystery in history. So let me show you some of the other verbiage that they use when they want to legitimize this. Check this out, right? They'll say something to the fact like, it says now I can't really see this, but the bull stated that the bull is going to be the doctrine that the Pope had wrote that's going to justify doctrine of discovery. So the papal bull was the decree that was written by the Pope of that particular time. And the bull stated that any land not inhabited by who? Christians. Let me say that one more again. The bull stated that any lands not inhabited by Christians was available to be what? Discovered, claimed, exploited by Christian rulers, and declared that the Catholic faith and the Christian religion be exalted and be everywhere. It reared and spread, that the health of souls be cared for, and that the barbarous nations be overthrown and brought to the faith itself. The doctrine of discovery became the basis of all European claims in the Americas, as well as the foundation for the United States Western expansion. Do I need to read this one more again? Do I need to read that again? The bull stated that any lands not inhabited by Christians was available to be discovered. So what are you saying? What are you saying, Mr. Blow Your Mind? Well, according to this papal bull says that the lands that they would approach, the lands that came off the water, the lands that they came on, that they seen people that were not deemed as what? Because a lot of y'all let us say, I'm Christian, I's a Christian, I's a Christian. Yeah, but Christian don't mean the same thing that you mean in 2022 what a Christian is. What did the Christian mean back in 1493? What did it mean? Did it mean the same thing that you think in this day? Because I know going back some time back, I remember say, what's your Christian name, boy? What did that mean, boy? Huh? What did Christian mean? Boy, don't mean that thing because you went in that church and you was opening that Bible and you was reading. It meant something entirely different. A Muslim meant something that had something with race. But you ain't hear me though. You ain't hear me though. So anyway, so a Christian was again available. If you're a Christian and you discovered lands, you get to claim it. You get to exploit it. You get to make and declare. And everybody who you come in contact at this time, because it is the Pope, that means Catholicism. So that means that the Catholic faith would be the predominant, let's say, religion that you would take on these people. And you would put this everywhere that was upon on this land. Because these people have been deemed and stamped barbarous. Right? They've been barbarous named, and so the doctrine of discovery came into existence. It became, as they say, you see, I underlined in red, the basis of all Europeans' claim in the Americas, as well as the foundation for the United States Western expansion. So this is the beginning, what we're talking about when we go back in history, as we're going to do, and then we're going to get to, because remember, I am talking about, what am I talking about? Remember, I'm talking about this. Rescind the doctrine. You got to rescind the doctrine. If you're going to get anything right, you're going to have to rescind the doctrine. But this is only doctrine number one. There's another doctrine that's going to knock your socks off your feet, as they say. You're going to knock the socks off your damn feet when you get to that one, because a lot of you uphold that. A lot of you love regurgitating and saying that with proudness until you understand what it really is. Just stay tuned. We're going to go there. So the other part to that is, right, when we talk about that, the doctrine of discovery became the basis of all European claims in the America. Okay? Now think about that. All people who know that your people came from somewhere else. Everybody in here who know they came from somewhere else, no matter where you come from, did this doctrine of discovery have anything to do with the land where your ancestors and forefathers came from? Did it not? And if that be so, how is it that, okay, let's say for instance, I won't touch that yet. We're gonna wait till we get there. I'm gonna get there. We're gonna do that right now. We're gonna wait. But anyway, so again, the basis of all European claims in America, as well as the foundation for the United States for Western expansion, in the United States Supreme Court, in the 1823 case Johnson versus McIntosh, Chief Justice John Marshall opinion, the unanimous decision hold that the principle of doctrine gave Europeans the absolute right to New World lands. And in essence, American Indians had only a right of occupancy, which could be abolished. William say, Mr. Blow Your Mind, what they saying is, hey, even Supreme Court backed that up. The Supreme Court even said that doctrine of discovery is what gave them so that they can claim this land, and then the people who was indigenous to this land, you only had a right to occupancy, but we can also abolish that. Oh, they can also abolish that. Really? Wow. So who wrote this game? Who the one made this to be the all be all? And why is this the law that it always has been? This is this is international. We ain't even got to domestic yet. We're talking about internationally, right? So for those who never heard of doctrine of discovery, this is what set up that whole what they call expansion, Western European expansion, and going into the Aborigines. And we're going to use, according to those who read their Bible, talk about let us go forth all around the world and spread this. Okay, so they use that part, and we're going to do that at the same time. We're going to use this, come in with the old sayings. They come in with the Bible, they come with the gun. You got the Bible, they got the Bible in the land, and you got the Bible, right? Something like that, right? They came with the Bible and the gun. You had the land. They gave you the Bible, they got the land, and they got the gun afterwards, right? So anyway, but that's how it went down, right? So with that being said, So the key here is what? What does it take to be a part of this? According to them, it said the two main differences between a Catholic and a Christian is that a Christian is a follower and a believer of the teaching and in the death of Jesus Christ, while that of Catholicism, which is the most wide-ranging. Let's say, was it? Yeah, I can't. It's hard on my screen to see where I'm at right there. But anyway, of Christianity, in simple words, all Catholics are Christians, but not all Christians are Catholics. So it's kind of like the same thing that was going down with that Kyrie Irving situation. I guess everybody can be a Jew, but not everybody can be Hebrew. Let me say that again. Everybody can be a Jew if you practice Judaism, but not everybody can be Hebrew. So the same thing they're saying about Catholicism. Every Christian is a Christian, but not every Christian can be a Catholic because of the difference of their tenets in certain aspects of their belief. Now, why are you saying this, Mr. Blow? Because you got to understand it. Now, the original part of the game started with who? The Pope, right? There was a Pope and the Papal Bull and what they created, right? But there was a clause in there. There's a clause that's going to allow somebody else to be able to get away from the game. That's what we probably going to be up under when you get done. When I get done, you're going to figure out what I'm talking about. But there's another part to this game because there's Christian, okay? Christian and a Catholic. They both Christians, but under the power of the doctrine of discovery, guess what happened? Well, if I don't play the game with the Catholicism, I'm still a Christian. And that Christian allows me to be able to do some of the same things under this doctrine and yet not still be a part of that. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, right? So with that being in mind, keep that mental note as we go on forward, because remember, there's two parts to that. There's that of the Catholicism, and then there's that one that's that Christian. Now, earlier this week, I seen this. Did y'all see this? Did you see this? Trump calls for a termination of the Constitution. In True Social Post. Trump calls for termination of Constitution. Now, you know they don't like that. You know European people sure didn't like that. White folks definitely did not like that, right? The thing that they were saying that Donald Trump, he want to get rid of the Constitution. He's crazy, right? Okay. And then they said something like this, right? They said that, again, it says White House spokesman, I think it's Anthony, Bates. I can't really see that, y'all. My screen is different from the screen y'all seeing, so my screen make it a little bit more tiny, so I can't really see that. But we're gonna do the best we can with it. But anyway, it says that Trump's remarks are. Let me hold on. Let me do this. Let me do this on my end because you can see well, but my screen that what I'm doing this from, I can't see well. Not that my reading is terrible. I just can't see this. But let me see. Let me do it this way. Hold on. I got a way to do this. Hold on. That's right here. Let's do this. Maybe this will help. All right. This helps a little bit. Okay. It says White House spokesman Andrew Bates said Saturday that Trump's remarks are, I can't see what that is, y'all. The soul of, I can't see that. Hold on. Let me do this. Let me do this. Hold on. I could do it this way. This is crazy, right? Y'all wouldn't believe the screen I'm doing this on, I can't really see it because it's really that tiny. But I'm going to get this show off. That's the whole thing. We're going to get the show off. But the reason why I want to do this, and I'm going to read that, if you ain't already reading it, you can read it for yourself, seeing it until I get there. But the point is that Trump said this and people were upset with him and they said this is blasphemous that that would even come out of the mouth of a person like him. But maybe there's something about the Constitution that many people don't know. Am I being a hater? No, that's not. No. We got to understand the awakening to the reality of the game, right? When you awaken to the reality of the game, it is what it is. When anytime you buy a board game, you buy any kind of game, it comes with instruction, and the instruction gonna tell you what it is. You follow according to the instruction, and you do accordingly in order to play the game correctly. But the thing is that, you know, when they say the word school, everybody associate that all schools teach the same things, right? When they talk about the board of 1954 Brown Board versus education and so forth, and then people believe that, okay, if black people go to a school and white people go to a school and Chinese people go to a school, and this, that every school is teaching the same curriculum. Is that true? Is it different varying degrees of information, knowledge, whether more pertinent, more relevant, some outdated, right? So that means that people can be manipulated in schools and not have the same information, and then come into the real world and still be grown in reciting certain things that you got that other people didn't get. So that for somebody who manipulates everybody, I can have you at odds with one another because you believe something to be based on your general understanding of things until you start getting into the depths of it, right? Then you'll be like, okay, all right. So anyway, I'm still waiting for this to pop up. It's taking a little bit. But point is, he's doing this. And I was wondering, like, okay, maybe there's something to this, but I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, because why? There's something about that doctrine, just like the doctrine of discovery, right? The papal bull and what it did. Well, we as Black Americans, FBA, some call ADOS, Autochthonous Indigenous, right? Moors, all that, the umbrella term, right? A lot of us, we call that. And there's a possible that there's something in this doctrine or this document that's going to knock your socks off. So check this out. Now, Will Smith, did y'all see this? I'm gonna come back to that. So you see Will Smith do this. I think it was an AT&T. We're talking about emancipation, when Will Smith is coming back doing this movie and being emancipated. And I heard a lot of people, oh man, but nobody want to be seeing that. We tired of looking at these slave movies and all that. Again, I get it. I get why, some of them, you don't want to do that slave because it reminds you of something that you've been trying to run from the whole time. Am I saying that we were slaves? That's not what I'm saying. Am I saying is that part of the history of the story that's been told? Yes, it is. Right? So with that being said, sometimes the reminder is to remind us, or maybe somebody's sending out a message, because there's people who are believing that the system is leaving, that this old system is leaving and a new system is coming in. Some people say it's a new day. Some people believe that of the past is leaving and it's going to be glorious time. And some people got 2030 as part of the schedule, all that stuff, right? So, but this movie, after we know that Will Smith went through what he did at the Oscars and that slapped that hurt around the country and around the world, and then the day that he was winning, he was getting an Oscar for King Richard, and then went up there and smacked Chris Rock, and then went into hiatus for all this time, and then now that they're bringing him back, they're bringing him back with emancipation, right? Right? Emancipation of all things. Emancipation. Freedom, right? Matter of fact, isn't that what Kanye was talking about? He getting free from his contracts, right? You seen Kanye talking about he's free from all that. You seen Kyrie Irving, right? We just seen, what's her name, over in Russia, right? Brittany Griner, she just got free, right? So here's Will Smith coming in now. He's talking about emancipation, right? He's talking about emancipation, right? So, okay. Well, let's look at this. Let's look at this, because you know what I didn't do also is in the beginning of this when we talked about that with Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter said that about people coming to the United States and commandeering Black civil rights. We will touch back on that though, but I'm not gonna forget that. We're gonna go back to that. That's at the beginning when I was playing it, right? So anyway. You seen what you seen on your screen, Will Smith with emancipation and so forth. And so it's like, okay, we get it, right? Emancipation, right? What is emancipation? What really is emancipation? Because, you know, a lot of people take that, they say that, and it's like, oh, okay, we're emancipated. Well, what is emancipation? What really is it? Right? They'll tell you that emancipation is just basically like, I guess you could say, boy, really, when you think about it, they say it's like an effort to procure what they say economic and social rights. It's a political right. It's equality. Now, wait a minute. We as people here in this United States, when we heard of 1865, we hear about the Emancipation Proclamation and all that, and people will always tell us, and you hear me, those who are avid watchers over here, I will always tell you, tell me the day, the month, and the year that slavery stopped. Tell me when it did, right? But they can't. So emancipation is meaning for those who are specifically disenfranchised group. This emancipation will be for this group, right? Okay? And so accordingly, Black people in this country have been emancipated. Just like Will. You see Will, he hit the crossroads, right? Being emancipated, At the crossroads, right? Being in the back of the truck. That's what he's doing, right? Right? All the things that we have strived and worked hard all these times that we sitting here, and it's time for us to be emancipated. That's why you're hearing reparations being spoken, right? You're seeing people talking about they woke and the truth is coming up. So there's something that's happening, whether it's in this country period or things that are formulated, working, people minds and waking up, and things are trying to work itself out, right? We just seen the cop that Tatiana Jefferson, he just got sentenced, but we didn't know how much time he's getting yet, though, right? For some of us who've been around and seeing things, this is not the norm. We don't see this often, and I'm not trying to use that to make this out of something great. It's just the fact that, you know, some things can't be the way always have been, that there is some kind of change, something that's happening, whether we know it or not. And there's a lot of people who are teaching on that and believe that a certain time is coming, that transfer of power is happening. But you see, they got emancipation with Will Smith. And what Will Smith was doing, I don't know if any of y'all seen it, but I'm showing you some of the clips of it, right? You're seeing him, right? And we, you know, some of these in our Akashic records, some of these stuff are embedded in our bodies with some of the traumas in our family that then passed on down to some of us. And guess what? We worked a lot of this out. Some of us is not, you know, as bad as others, and some of us have our own rituals on how we deal things to do it and to work these things out. And you would think that the people who gone through what we've gone through, as much as they keep espousing and trying to make us to be the most crazy and dangerous people, but honest, we're not. Maybe to ourselves at times, but you would think that we would be a lot worse than what we are. But we have a mechanism that was a ritual, what we did, that we worked ourselves, and we got to this point that even though we still have a sense of humanity and sameness after all that we have done, right? All that we've done. What's good with you, Leonard DeYuta? My brother just sent me a message up there. Let me put that up there for everybody. They're gonna put that up there, right? So, with that being said, we've been working this out. Yeah, we still got some kinks. We still got some people out here who ain't getting it right. But slowly but surely, we working them things out. And so when they say that word emancipate, you know, we got to talk to one another. Hey, man, we got to get stronger. We got to get more unified. You know what I'm saying? Because when we look at the terrain today, we look at this, we're seeing that there's something happening that was like, well, you're bringing a lot of people from here, a lot of people from over there, but we've been the foundation. We've been here before there was a place called the United States. We, in a sense, would be considered indigenous. A lot of people gonna say that. We're gonna say, well, what about the Native Americans, right? Oh, well, okay, you could say that too, right? They say that, and then we have some brothers in the corner, sisters in the corner that are teaching and talking about that, and they may have, you know, they may have something that they may say, well, I second that emotion over that. But anyway, so with that being said, when we talk about that, it's a wonderful thing. See these old pictures here. I heard a lot of people say, oh man, I don't want to see that stuff no more, man. I'm tired of seeing that. No, sometimes you got to be reminded. You got to remember where you came from, so where we're going. You know what I'm saying? You got to remember where you came from, because where we're about to go. And the way we're trying to go, some people ain't going to like where we're going, and other people are trying to prohibit us and bring detours and make it harder for us. But we have been through, as they say, we've been through, what do they say? You go through fire, right? You go through elements to see how you battle tested. We battle tested, so that means that we've gone through the purification, where everybody else will have to learn to go through that when it's time for that to happen. Some of us have been there from the whole inception, and some of them have been running to try to get away from wherever they came from so they don't have to go through it. So we may be going through this emancipation once again, but this time once we get that genie out the bottle, ain't no putting it back. So we're going to start shedding off that dumb count. Those who still trying to hold on and be that old fuckway, we're going to get rid of all that. And we're going to be, because the war has to come, but we got to get rid of that. And that's amongst ourselves. Those who don't want to move forward will be, like a rocket ship going up, and how it don't take the whole ship with them. It's only certain parts of it. The rest of it falls off, goes back down into the earth, right? So I remember when Prince was emancipated. Y'all remember when Prince got emancipated? On his 19th song, Prince was saying he was good, right? Prince was like, shit, I'm emancipated. I'm free now. But he didn't get to enjoy it long enough, right? Because remember, he had the slave on his face. He had that slave on his face. He was like, man, you know what I'm saying? He just wanted to own his own shit. What's wrong with that? You work hard. You do the things you do. You're supposed to observe the fruits of your labor. Well, that's the same thing when you think about us as Black Americans in this country. We want the fruits of, well, they said, well, what have y'all done? Well, wait a minute. When you get inheritance, when somebody passed something off to you, they already did the work. It's your job to maintain it and keep it going so that the next generation can inherit it as well. But when you don't get no inheritance, how can somebody look at us and come amongst us and tell us about what we ain't done? And yet you came here on a raft. You came here shipwrecked. You came here desolate. You came here in search of a better. And yet I see more and more every single day, people from other places have things to say about Black Americans and their contributions that everybody has eaten off of. But when it's time for you to sit at the table, they don't want you to have nothing at the table. You get what I'm saying? So for those who don't know much about our background, they was sitting around, Lincoln and them, right? They were sitting there thinking about, well, wait a minute now, you know what? What we gonna do with them? Now we know we don't want the South to keep doing what it's doing because it's expanding this business and it's gonna end up taking over everything, and we ain't gonna be able to do what we trying to do. We trying to get into the industrial business, right? We trying to mimic our motherland and try to be industrial like them and make fabrics and shit like that. But they down there with the slave and doing the crop and stuff. So wait a minute, it ain't working out. They working with the mother company, but they ain't working with us. So how we gonna get rid of it? So they plotting on what they gonna do. What they gonna do with them? Now, for those of y'all who don't know, do you see on your screen there? Look on there. You see 4,441,830 in 1860. That's how many it was of us. Those of you who, like I am, you come from the people of 4,441,830 that they say on the census there was. What's to blow your mind? You said there's only 4,441,830 of us. According to that census there, that's what they said. Now, they the one did all the counting. Remember, we were just what we was, right? Keep that number in mind, right? 4,441,830. Okay? So, accordingly, as they said, they were sitting there, they were contemplating with each other, say, okay, now what we going to do? We got 4 million of them. What we going to do with them? You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to release them. We're going to have to get them. Okay, so he did. Okay, so Lincoln's like, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to call a confiscation act. Now, I called the original confiscation act, which is what I said, so they ancestors that they could get away, they could get into the armies, and then they could be we will bring them into the regiment, and then we will confiscate them as contraband, and then that would be part of the property of the Union, right? So some of us, when we go and do our research of our family, we find that some of them was in the military. We see them in the Civil War. We see them in the Union, right? But they know we fall on both sides, though, right? So, but Lincoln called a second confiscation act because, again, he has to legitimize this. Now, again, can the president confiscate property is the question. Can he do that? Did he have the right to do that? Well, some people say he didn't. That's where you hear that Larry Elder talk about, if you ever heard him with Candace Owens talking about some, one thing you could say the slave owners could have got reparations because of what they lost of their slaves. Now, that's what he's really talking about. He's talking about that what Lincoln did those who considered the 4,441,830, where they confiscate their property, were they supposed to be paid for them? Anybody in their right mind said, well, this is not moral. But again, are we talking about morals? Are we talking about right? Are we talking about laws? What are we talking about here, right? But anyway, Lincoln go ahead and does a second confiscation act. Now, this means when they come into the military, they get to confiscate the property because, they got us as property. And I'm going to show you something again. We'll go back on these doctrines, who we are in these doctrines, right? We got to find out. So when you look at the political map of that time, you'll see how in the black, right? You see the red section, the green, and in the black section, that's where they were considered, let's say, the rebel states, the states that a lot of our people, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Louisiana, Texas, right, Alabama, right? All those of us who have our ancestors, where we come from that black area. Keep that in mind. And that black area that you see on that map, going back at that particular time, that's what they showing, right? That's what they showing. That is the area which all our people was at. But did you not know? Or should we take a quick break? Maybe we should take a quick break. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that y'all in here hitting that like button in here. But let's take a quick little break and be right back. Check this out. Hold on. Hey, you sitting here watching the video. Why you sitting there? Put your hand on that like button, click it, thumbs it up, share this video, comment. You can like or dislike it. We don't care about that. And also, if you ain't over here and subscribe, what you waiting on? Get yourself over there and subscribe to get on up to WeUpReport so you can stay up because we're going to keep you up. That's how you help keep this channel going. You can also do some monetary donations. We'll tell you about that later. But right now, wake yourself up, like, share, and comment. And don't forget, when you subscribe on that button, hit that put all notifications. You know how YouTube get down.
You know I need some money, gotta get the money, cause I need some cash. You know I need some money, gotta get the money, cause I need some cash. Hey, come on, gotta get it. You know I need the money, gotta get the money, cause I need some cash. Hey, come on, gotta get it.
Now, again, remember the black section of the map here, right? The black section. Now, did you not know that they talk about the indigenous of America? And they talk about, because people believe that the Native American, that there was these people, right? Now, as you see on your screen, that map there, let me show you where they said that the Indian tribes or indigenous tribes were located at. Let me show you something. You see it on your screen? Can you read some of the names on there? Right? Now, isn't it ironic that the same territory called the southeastern tribes of the indigenous is kind of like the same area when you look at this map here in the black section? Am I right or am I wrong? Huh? Am I right or am I wrong? Is that kind of like the same as the political map that they show here? Is it the same as those that they said were the southeastern tribes there? Right? And if you look good, you'll see, Cherokee and Choctaw, right? But you see there are other tribes there as well. But they just happen to be in the same area that they said that what they talk about on this map here. Like the black people in the black part, but in here in the southeastern part, this would be with the tribes that they call indigenous people. Ironic, coincidence? I don't know. You tell me. Because they told me when they said the Trails of Tears, you want to see the same area where they left from? How about this? How about this? You see that areas how they said they took them and they go and from there. You see, Do these all look like the same areas? Do you seem like the same areas? Do they? Coincidence? I don't know. Right? So anyway, so they tell us that those people who were there, the Trails of Tears, and they took them, as you can see at the bottom screen, telling you which ones. Now, again, how many tribes is on here? There's plenty of tribes in there, right? You see plenty of names over there. But they only gonna take but 5. They only gonna take 5 nations. Oh, no, let me show the 5 nations. Right? You heard that right there? Right? You got some Seminoles, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Creek, right? And Cherokees. Now, remember, look at how many there was over here. There was plenty of them over there. But you didn't take all of them. You only took 5 from out of this area, right? And then they traversed from there, and they went over there to that brown area you see over there. That would be Oklahoma. That would be Oklahoma over there to that left. So they trail and they going over there, according to them. Now, I just took this to show you. I'm just telling you the story somewhat, right? So according to this 5 tribes that end up coming up, they call them the 5 civilized tribe nations, right? Civilized. Now, remember going back to the doctrine of discovery, everybody that was not considered to be European, Catholic, or Christian could not be, well, I guess you was barbarous, savage, right? So that means that only people who considered to be Catholics and Christians, right, would be European people. Okay, so according to what they're showing here, when they did the Trails of Tears, according to that, they tell us as Native Americans, right? And then you see here in the southeastern part, by coincidence, the same places that they showing them here is the same places that we were, according to that political map, when they showed you that we were down south. A lot of our ancestors come from down there, right? Coincidence? I guess I don't know. You tell me, right? So again, the 5 civilized tribe nations, you only took 5 out of all of them that we've seen. And this became what they set up, right? All right, keep that in mind. Keep that all in mind, right? So, I think it was on October, I think it was this year, October 6th. They call it Indigenous Day. Now, listen to this and we'll be right back.
Today marks Indigenous Peoples Day. It was once known as Columbus Day, but Indigenous Peoples Day, proclaimed by President Biden last year, honors Native Americans, their resilience, their contributions to our American society throughout our history and long before. Our next guest is a citizen of the White Mountain Apache tribe and Navajo Nation, and he was instrumental in helping broker that first proclamation for Indigenous Peoples Day. Dylan Baca, the chairman and CEO of Indigenous Peoples Initiative, joins us now after celebration today in New York. Dylan, good to see you. Congratulations. How does it feel? We're on our way to a national holiday that really does kind of shift our emphasis on the European settlement of America and what went on before.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. But yes, it's a monumental change within the makeup of how we view history within our country. It puts at the forefront of things the ability to recognize past wrongs and be able to build something that is stronger and better. and more unified. And I think that's what really Indigenous Peoples Day represents, an honest and truthful representation of history itself. And by being able to do that, we're able to recognize us being able to be or work together more collectively in the future.
Absolutely. So for you personally, as somebody that's played this role, but now celebrating this day, what does it mean for you?
It's touching to see how history has moved throughout time. Somebody I look to for inspiration is my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother was born in 1923, a year before Native Americans were considered citizens of the United States, and 40 years previous to Native Americans receiving citizenship as well. So it's in that amount of time, and when she passed away, she was able to see Native Americans in the corridors of power and the halls of Congress. So seeing that shift over a large amount of time, it means progress in the best sense possible. It means the opportunity for Indigenous peoples who've often not had a voice at the table to now have one, and to be recognized by a country that has often disenfranchised us in many ways.
Absolutely. Dylan, let me ask you, there's a segment of the country that will feel that by shifting our focus, our attention this way on the history of America, somehow we're not just de-emphasizing, but disrespecting or dishonoring the Europeans, including my ancestors and others who came here. How do you answer people who have that concern?
So I think it goes back to my heritage as well. I'm biracial, so I come from Native American descent, but I also have my dad comes from a European descent as well. And it's something that I have thought a lot about as far as my identity and looking at that. And from me personally, I look at it being able to celebrate both. But again, it's being able to tell a more truthful and honest narrative of past wrongs, and be able to tell not only the stories of triumph, but also tragedy that have built this wonderful country. And if we choose to ignore those moments and glance over them by glorifying somebody like Christopher Columbus, then that sets us apart from actually being able to tell that more truthful narrative of history. So again, I think it goes back to the idea of being able to recognize it, and from it, being able to build that sentiment of more truthful history.
Right. Tell the whole story, tell the truth, tell it straight.
We are back, right? So they're talking about Indigenous Peoples Day, okay? Indigenous People Day is a holiday, they say, in the United States to celebrate and honor the Indigenous American peoples. Now, again, I'm not here to try to take nothing from nobody, but I know as a Black American, FBA, ADOS, Tasha's Indigenous, more and so forth, what part do we play in the Indigenous American people? Are we part of that? Or are we just the story everybody keep telling us that we came on a boat? Now, remember, I just showed you a second ago how many people they said in 1860 there were. Well, let's go back one more again. Wait a minute, hold on, go back one more again. Right? 4,441,830. Look at the year 1860, and they said it was only 4,441,830 in 1860. Now, you done heard stories that they said that the Atlantic slave trade, they had 100 million people that they trained across this transatlantic slave trade, and they said about 5% of them came to the United States, right? Or 4% or something like that. Well, how is that possible that in the year 1860, we got 4,441,830 or 630, could be 630 or 830, whichever one it is, right? And the fact is that and 10 years back is going back to 1790, there's not even a million. So how could that story be what they say it is? I'm just asking a question, y'all. I'm just asking a question. If you're saying 1790, and then they always tell you about the 1619 story, right? Right? 1619, right? And they talk about 10 odd Negroes, right? But they don't never tell you the entirety of that story, which is that ship, the White Lion, I think it's the White Lion, it was coming across on its way going somewhere else and got picked off and war booty took it, and then they got caught and they brought it to Virginia. But where is the slave trade? Where's the slave trade at? I don't see no slave trade. I hear 10-eyed Negroes of 1619. So I'm thinking by the time 1790, we should be well over 1 million. No, not really. Possible? No, not at all. Okay, but that's what they show. Those they count. I didn't make that count. So I'm saying, well, were we part of the indigenous people? It's just ironic, as I showed you, okay, when they show the political map of that time, when they're talking about emancipation and so forth, they got the black area showing the black area where black people were being in the rebel states, right? He was in Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Louisiana, Florida, Texas, right? We was all in them states, right? And then when they talk about the southeastern tribes of the indigenous people, they're ironically, they're the same places or the same place we was at, right? And they show more than just 5 tribes. They show a whole bunch of tribes there, right? Right? And then when they show you they're going to do the Trail of Tears, they only took 5 from out of there and took them over there. Now, they also say about this Indigenous Day, it's the commemoration, right, of the federal holiday of Columbus Day. I never understood it. Did you? Did you ever understand why the hell did we celebrate Christopher Columbus when he never brought his ass to the United States? Let me say that one more again. How the hell has we were celebrating Christopher Columbus Day when Christopher Columbus ain't never put a toenail, foot, letter, nothing here, right? So if somebody discombobulating you, if somebody got you looking this way when you should be looking that way, and you never asked yourself, right? So, but anyway, this Indigenous Day was to now take over the fact of Christopher Columbus. And as you heard that young man there, that Dylan, talking about how he was part of the broker who was, I guess, to help situate this Indigenous Day. And then you heard the one who was doing the interview with him say, well, as a white guy, some of us will be like, look like you guys are shifting the focus off of the European settlement. See, the nice word, settlement, settlement. But remember, we just went and we showed you about Indigenous Day, right? We went and showed you about the Indigenous Day. Oh, not Indigenous Day, I'm sorry. We showed you about, remember, Doctrine of Discovery. That's the nice way of saying settlement. When you said that the people, because they don't build no structures that is uninhabited, to give you the right to discover and claim it, and then the fact that you're Christians or you're Catholic and they're not, and they're savages, that give you the right to take something from somebody. It's ordained, it's been sanctioned, it's been by the vicar, the Pope who represents Jesus on earth, right? All that, right? All that is what's justifying all that. And so here it is, trying to make a crooked roll straight, and trying to make it about what it should be about. Instead of people acknowledging the wrongs that have been done, we still got to find a way to make it still about us. We stole it. Okay, but what about us, right? I mean, come on. Why you guys are focusing? You're not even gonna. So we're not gonna even give no credit to the fact that we settled this. Hey. Who do you know? Y'all got any homies or friends that always want to tell you about the time he went to jail for stealing some shit? I don't think nobody can. They don't. Talk about the time before that, but they want to tell you about that part where he got caught up in. That ain't nothing glorious about that. But for some odd reason, people want us to. You remember the time when we came and robbed you and killed you and raped all your damn women? You remember that? Look at that. I mean. There's nothing wrong with that. Come on, we're over that now. We're past that, right? And that's supposed to be good, right? Oh, because now today, it's taken away from you. And so you don't like that part, right? You don't like that part. We don't only want to talk about that. That's over the past. But that don't mean you got to make some amends. You're going to have to give up something. You can't say we're trying to do right and not give up nothing. right? You can't be saying, I want to do right and not give up something. If you want to make it right, make it right. If you don't want to make it right, you can't do partial pieces, right? You want to recompense all of it. Give me all of it back. No, we can't do that, right? So, he said we have the ability to deal with past wrongs. That was a young man. The young man said, we can't sit here and we can't glorify Christopher Columbus because that was a wrong. Yes, I'm part European as well as I'm indigenous. And, what has been done ain't been right. Now, here's the person who is on the side of Columbus is trying to find a straight road for it. You don't believe me? That's what he says. Wait, let's go to the next part. Go.
You mentioned Columbus Day. That was obviously as I was growing up, we celebrated Columbus Day. I was in Chicago, big Italian-American community there. That was their hero. It was a way of them essentially becoming, a part of the American family with a holiday celebrating an Italian like that. What do you think of Columbus? And what do you think of Columbus Day? And what would you say to all those Italian Americans who felt it was special for them?
I don't have a problem recognizing the major contributions or just the contributions of Italian Americans in general. I think it's important that we recognize the diversity within the United States, but also recognize the people that were here first is a huge importance to doing so as well. So I say to them, we're not trying to contribute to the erasure of American history or your history, but being able to build that more truthful and honest version of it by doing so. The history of Columbus himself is one of genocide, one of rape, one of removing people from their indigenous homelands in a forceful and colonist way. I think it's important to recognize that, and by celebrating that man, we aren't able to do that. But having something like Indigenous Peoples Day does, it gives us the ability to recognize both sides of that, not only the triumphs of history itself, but also those tragedies that existed as well.
And for people who are paying attention to your stories, the stories of that indigenous side of your family and all of our fellow Americans who can trace their ancestry back well before Christopher Columbus, what's next? What are the most important challenges you want people to understand that indigenous people face?
Indigenous peoples face an amalgam of challenges on a daily basis. For one instance, the mortality rate of Indigenous peoples is 10 years less than the national average. Indigenous peoples suffer from a higher rate of poverty than non-tribal people. There's higher rates of suicide within tribal communities. There's higher rates of, or lesser rates of economic development. So it's these things that we must recognize in order to build that stronger future for other parts of our community, our global community, not just in the United States, but around the world, to be able to build back in a stronger way. So it's that recognition of there's an amount of problems that Indian country faces, but if we are able to recognize them and work collectively, then we can see change that improves the quality of life for many people.
And for all our country. And Dylan Baca, thanks for helping us understand it better and tell the whole story. Thanks very much, Dylan.
Thank you for having me.
Right? So that was Dylan, right? Dylan was sitting there saying the things he said. Now, I want to go back a little bit on some things he said. Now, he talked about his grandmother. And was in 1923, right? You talking about how his grandmother and how she was born. And did you pick up on the fact that he says that his grandmother, as a native, is considering her citizenship, right? Think about that. I'm like, wait a minute. If you're supposed to be Native American, how does a Native American end up getting American citizenship when you were part of the treaties, right? With the tribes, right? And then you don't become a citizen to 1923. Now, remember when I was reading about the doctrine of discovery and when it said about that Indians had a right to occupancy, but it could be abolished. So would the abolishment be the fact that the Native American would eventually lose, and then he would be acclimated into the, that which they give reference to Columbus? Would that what happen? Is that what that is? Because I can't understand how what you do. You relinquish your treaty, you relinquish your tribe to get citizenship. So somewhere that's what it seemed like it did. You abolishing, you're losing your occupancy, right? They said they have a right to occupancy, but then you lose that, and then you just become a citizen. You're a United States citizen. All right, but anyway, I'm gonna tie in with us. All right? This is that game they playing, but I'm gonna see something about when it comes to us. So they talk about how you heard him say, he said segments of whites, they may feel disrespected, our history here, we might feel disrespected. If we don't take it for what it says, right? If you take for what the history says, how can you talk about you're disrespected? The disrespect started before, not now. It was in the beginning. So when a wrong happened in the beginning, how can you now cry and say you feel disrespected? You can't be disrespected. What you have to say is it was wrong, and let's figure out how to make it right. But if you don't want to really admit the fact that something is wrong, I guess you can justify anything to keep your position, right? And so, as he said, to tell the truth, the narrative of history, the true narrative of history. Nobody wants the real truth of history. The real truth of history is not nice. It's not pretty. It don't have sugar on it. You know what I'm saying? It got stink on it. It's like shit, right? Shit didn't start off bad. It started off as food edible with taste and all that. But when it come out, you know what I'm saying? It ain't all nice. Don't smell too nice. It's waste now, right? And that's how the history has been. The whitewash was when it was in this edible part, what they told you. But now that we've come to waking up and learn and know a lot more, we see it's shit. And so some people will do and make the shit like a coffee table. It'll get so hard, you start to say, fuck it, I put my drink on the shit because it's sitting there, shit, fuck it, don't stink anymore, but I sit it there and put my drink and watch the game, right? And that's how they say it's hard now. It's not even shit anymore. It's good, right? No, it's still shit. It's still shit. But we can't look at it like it's shit. We don't have to pretend like something else. But anyway, the fact is, that's history. So when you tell history, a lot of people is going to rub people wrong. And a lot of people don't want to give up the position because they got comfortable. They got generations of here. Matter of fact, it's kind of like, they all say our ancestors, because he even mentioned all our ancestors back in Europe. It seems like you got a lot of people who know they come from other places, but when they talk about going back, oh no, that ain't even part of that. What? That's like a curse word, telling people who from somewhere else about, going back to your homeland and helping and do. That's like cussing somebody out. That's like the worst thing you could tell a person. Hey, no. It's like some people believe that. Matter of fact, let me go back to what Ann Coulter said. Ann Coulter said that commandeering, right? She was saying the word commandeer, that she was talking about the LGBT group, the feminist group, those who are the defenders for immigrants and immigration have commandeered civil rights. Do I need to play that again? Or did y'all hear that? Let me play that one more again, just in case with all who came late to class. We'll go back one more again. Go back, play the one more.
It's kind of a provocative comment in your new book here, Mug, and I think it's on page 151. You write that various groups, feminists, gay rights groups, and those who are defending immigrants have commandeered the black civil rights experience. Yes. What do you mean by that?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that because I think it's one of the most important points of the book. I mean, I think the way liberals have treated blacks like children and many of their policies have been harmful to blacks. At least they got the beneficiary group right. We do have to, we shouldn't there is the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow laws. We don't owe the homeless. We don't owe feminists. We don't owe women who are desirous of having abortions, but that's, or gays who want to get married to one another. That's what civil rights has become for much of the left. They dropped the blacks after 5 minutes.
Immigrant rights are not civil rights?
No, I think civil rights are for blacks.
See, this is essentially the problem, and the Republicans
What have we done to the immigrants? We owe black people something. We have a legacy of slavery. Immigrants haven't even been in this country.
But you see, most of us are either immigrants or are the descendants of immigrants, and we understand that not everybody, there are Native Americans in, but we understand in this country, that kind of self-deportation, making things so difficult for immigrants, for undocumented immigrants, that they have to leave, or the DREAM Act, vetoing, threatening to veto the DREAM Act, which is what Romney has said. I mean, and again, we have Governor Romney, who is basically taking a position that is anti a large and the fastest growing segment of the electorate.
And here's the thing, if Republicans don't do something with immigration, and if Republicans are so far away from Latinos, they're going to lose not only this election, they might lose the White House for generations.
The future.
And Texas could turn from
why the
red to
Democrats
blue.
are dropping the blacks and moving on to the
They're not
Hispanics
dropping the
because they're a
blacks. They're not
larger group of Hispanics now. But could I just say to Jorge, I hate to disagree with you when you're attacking President Obama, but I think the point on immigration is you can have open borders or you can have a welfare state. You cannot have both.
That was Ann Coulter, right? Ann Coulter said that about various groups, LGBT. She said the feminist group, those who are advocates again for immigration rights. She admits that the beneficiary, everybody knows who's the beneficiary, who should be getting, right? But she said the word commandeer. When you look at that word commandeer, you're talking about like seize, like a military seizing something from somebody, right? To confiscate. Is that what happened? Is that part of the game to make other groups and other things so that you never deal with, as they say, the original sin? Does gender-based groups take away from dealing with blacks? Matter of fact, I think they call it benign neglect policy, right? Benign neglect, which is we gonna act like we don't even see nothing that you're talking about. Benign neglect policy, which is really a policy in government. They actually said this is a policy, right? So the fact is you can deny and benign neglect people and yet no, but then the question I'm posing to you is, was these groups, again, I'm not against those groups because that's your thing, that's your thing. If your sexual preference doesn't take precedence over my humanity, your gender doesn't take precedence over my humanity. You leaving from your homeland, coming to another place, as you say, for better life or asylum seeker and all that, does not take precedence over my humanity. But it seems that that's what happens. And if we say something about it, we're haters for that, right? You're, oh my God, you're always right. So let's ask the question. Let's see what Ann Coulter said. Is it true? Civil rights. Was civil rights for black people in the United States? Was it? The Civil Rights Act of 1866. You know what that was about? Extending the rights of emancipated slaves by stating that any person born in the United States, regardless of race, is a United States citizen. Now, at that particular time, who they talking about? What person was what people were disenfranchised based on race? Who was the ones that were emancipated? That's 1866, right? So again, we're not going to never look at the beginning of stuff. We're talking about what we is now. So if you ain't never dealt with what it did in the beginning, and then now, we're just gonna act like it don't, again, benign neglect, we're gonna act like it don't exist so that we can just move forward. So when it came with the Civil Rights Act of 1871, prohibiting race-based violence against who? Black Americans. Let me say that one more again. Civil Rights Act of 1871, prohibiting race-based violence against Black Americans. Is civil rights about black people? Civil Rights Act of 1875 prohibiting discrimination in public accommodation. Who are the ones that they said you go in the back door, white water fountain, black water? Who is they doing that with? Is that everybody now? So when she used the word commandeer, is she right? 1957, that's when they get the Civil Rights Commission put together. 1960, they establishing a federal inspection of local voter registration because why? Black people can't vote. Counting jelly beans, disenfranchised, poll taxes, right? You ain't here yet. They haven't opened the door entirely yet until 65. The same year you're gonna get civil rights, huh? The same year black folks get civil rights, and the same day, same year, immigration coming in. When have black people been able to benefit on anything being here? Have they? Now? So when she said commandeering, is that what that's about? Is that when you say what they were talking about in the what they call that when they was given for black people? Matter of fact, you have the Chinese right now fighting against that. I can't think of it right on the top of my head, but they put a white woman in there but say she was being discriminated against, and then she gets in there. Somebody might know what I'm talking about, but they put the white woman in there, right? And so it still put a wedge in. Nothing has never been solely for you. Can't be nothing solely for you. And when she said the Democrats are dropping blacks, and he was, oh, no, they're not doing that. What do we see today? What are we seeing in our eyes? Matter of fact, since I'm there, right? Let me go ahead. Let's go there. They just showed this, right? Right? They just had this. The Democrat Senator Warnock wins Georgia runoff against Herschel Walker, right? Remember that? That just happened not too long ago. And matter of fact, how do you even get a runoff? Think about that. How does a politician, which really was a reverend that came from the church, same as Ebenezer Church, right, in Atlanta, right, with the Kings, right? So I guess technically he ain't really a full politician. He was a reverend, right? They put him up against a football player, right, Herschel Walker, and he didn't make a runoff with him. Now, the thing about that was they said if Herschel Walker would have won, they would have had control both sides. So guess who came out? Right? Matter of fact, look at how he barely won. Look at the stats, huh? Huh? He barely beat him. But look, what about 100,000? A little less than 100,000. And you know what made the difference with that? What made the difference to make Warnock win? Oh yeah, that guy right there, huh? That guy, huh? That guy came out there to get him that little 100,000 worth of votes. Because you don't see none of them other presidents, they don't come out. They don't got to come out. Man, still working, huh? He's still working. Had to get him out there so you could beat that cat, so you could win to keep that, again, balance this game out, right? They bring him out. Matter of fact, a lot of people know what that is. That's tokenism, right? Right? But, the thing is, people looking like us, saying they us, and then they do things that you have to sometimes kind of question. Matter of fact, I remember a little time back, because again, I don't come on as much as I would like to come on, but when I do come on, I try to come and feed as much as I can. But I remember seeing this story here. Did y'all see this? Well, Obama once scolded Steph Curry for saying that the moon landing was fake. Let me say that one more again. Obama once scolded Steph Curry for saying that the moon landing was fake. Now, wait a minute. Now, if you black like I'm black, you people go back. And even white folks that might be in here. Everybody didn't believe that, right? Everybody did not believe it. It's kind of like that flat earth stuff, right? There's people, but again, originated the flat earth came from Europe, right? When they the ones come out, the world sat on the back of a turtle that sat on 4 elephants, right? Right? But now when you talk about that, now it's like, oh no, that's conspiracy talk, right? Well, once upon a time, I remember old folks used to be like, ain't nobody went to no damn moon, baby. Ain't nobody went to no damn moon, right? So there's some people who believe that, right? And so here, a grown man, Steph Curry is a grown man. And he said that he believed the moon landing was fake. And this cat went out there and scolded him. You can't say that. Remember with Kyrie? Oh, it's blasphemy for me to post. Why I can't post it? Well, same thing. Obama went to Steph Curry, told him he cannot say the moon landing was fake. Huh? He couldn't say that. Right? That he told him that. Now, I've been around for a little bit. I remember this movie here. I remember this movie. Any of y'all see this movie here? Capricorn 1? Did any of y'all see Capricorn 1? Right? Capricorn 1 was about the land. That was about the space. It was about them going up into space. Right? Oh, y'all remember that? Some of y'all might say that might be some of y'all time, right? Called Capricorn 1, huh? Back in the 70s, right? That movie came out. And you know, like they do sometimes later now, they'll go get the star of the time. Well, who was the man at the time back then? It was that cat right there. You know who that is? Y'all know who that is? The Juice, right? The Juice was in that. O.J. Orenthal Simpson was in that movie, right? And this movie was about space. And so him and these two other white cats, they went in there and they got in there and they were supposed to go up to the moon, right? This is in the 70s, going to the moon. And as they got in there, they had everybody out there with the binoculars, they waiting on, and as they got in there to sit in, and somebody came and told them, hey, come on, you gotta come with me. What do you mean? We got to go up. No, come on, you gotta come with me. So they get out the spaceship, get in the back of a van, and then they take them to some place out in the desert, in some studio someplace, right? They took them back to some damn studio somewhere. And then they told us, now, well, this is what you're gonna have to do now. He said, wait a minute, I thought we were supposed to be getting on the ship and we probably going to the moon. No. We ain't not supposed to do that. We need you to do this. So what did they do? They took him into a studio that looked like this. This is what they showed. This is in the 70s. They showed this. He was like, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute. What we gonna do? We gonna fake like we went up there? They're like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do, right? So they couldn't believe this shit. Like, wait a minute, this ain't gonna work. What about my wife and all that, right? So here they is. They got in there and they did this whole thing, right? They showed this. Just like we seen what they showed, what they went up in the moon. Now, again, this is Hollywood. But what was they telling us? We don't know. Anybody ever ate McDonald's up on the moon yet? Yeah, ate some McDonald's yet? KFC? You know, there ain't no McDonald's, no KFC up on the moon yet. Ain't no, right? There ain't nobody up there yet, right? So anyway, with that being said, right? Okay, so they can make that, and they saying it's fake, but then when here's Steph Curry saying that, you scolded the man and come out what he can't say. Okay, so you saying you can't say no fake shit. That's what he's saying. You got too many people listen to you to say fake shit. Okay, what can I hold you? Can I hold you to the same shit? Can I hold you to the same shit? Can I hold you to the same shit? What you talking about, Mr. Blow Your Mind? Well, let me show you something. Now, you know I just showed y'all going back, right? I showed you possibilities, right? When I showed you here, remember the 5 civilized nations, right? Remember I showed them when they showed the political map back with the slaves, and that black is where we at, and they talk about the southeastern tribes. You see the areas of the southeastern tribes seem to be the same places that the black people that was in the south and the rebel nation seem to be in the same place, right? They talk about the Trail of Tears, right? And then they go from the Trail of Tears and they take them from there and those 5 tribes, and they take them over to Oklahoma, right? Which became the 5 civilized nations, right? That's what they call it, right? Now, you know, people heard about Oklahoma City, right? Everybody heard about Oklahoma. What happened to Oklahoma, massacre? I would say the Oklahoma massacre and so forth, right? And, you know, there's 3 survivors that's been holding on. 3 left. I mean, they in their hundreds. One of them, they like 110, 109, 107. They've been holding on, trying to get be repaired for what they had been done. The last 3 left, other than the descendants of all those who had once been there. They was actually there and living at the time, right? Now, I remember when he was alive, Johnny Cochran. Do y'all know that Johnny Cochran back in 2002, let me show you. Let me show you something. Let me show you something. Suit filed for riot survivors. Huh? You see who in there shaking hands? Johnny Cochran and them back in 2002 or 2003 were going to sue to get them their bread. Johnny Cochran was one of the lawyers, right? Give you a close up on him. Right? Give you a little close up on him, right? That's Johnny Cochran, right? They was going out there to do it. Now, Johnny Cochran wasn't the lead lawyer. He was the second in command. You know who the first command was? That cat next to that cat. That cat that's next to that cat was the lead lawyer, which is his professor in school. Huh? That was his professor. That guy that you said the first black president. That's his professor, which he was the lead attorney when it came to dealing with this in Oklahoma. Street, that was him, right? Do you know they did not win that case because they said time of the essence? That they didn't pay them because they said it took too long for the case. Right? It took too long for the case. Ain't that something? Took too long. And so, do you know later on, the reparation for slavery, Johnny Cochran was going to go ahead and do it. Did y'all know that? That when he knew what happened with that case in Oklahoma, he figured out, you know what? I could get this. I could win this. I believe somebody knew he thought he could win it. And they said, but you ain't going to be around to do it, right? You're not going to be around for that, okay? So, what you trying to say, Mr. Blow Your Mind? Well, somebody could tell you don't say no fake shit. And then we can see that somebody pulled some fake move because there's some stories that I ain't going to tell you here. You got to do your due diligence because that which I just showed you, I'm pretty sure many of y'all never even knew about that. You didn't even know that they went to court for the Oklahoma City back in 2002 through 2003 trying to sue for that. And then they got with a technicality with the time of the essence. Took too long to file the case. And so what ended up happening when they did a little ceremony, remember the 100 years over there in Oklahoma, they did that with Sheila Jackson them out there, all hojoing and all that shit, dancing and shit. And then when they do, some private person gave them $1 million each. See? They didn't deal with you. Never deal with you, right? When it comes to you, no. What you trying to do? No. Matter of fact, you get somebody that says some shit like this.
Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville is facing criticism over racially charged remarks he made over the weekend. The first-term Alabama Republican spoke during a rally in Nevada featuring former President Donald Trump. Tuberville criticized the Democratic Party's stance on crime while making racially charged remarks linking black people to crime.
They're not soft on crime. They're pro-crime. They want crime. They want crime because they want to take over what you got. They want to control what you have. They want reparation because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. They are not owed that.
The Alabama senator's remark seems to claim that black people are, quote, people that do the crime. That is a quote. The Democratic Party does not support reparations, but President Biden has said he supports studying the issue. CBS News reached out to Senator Tuberville for comment and has not yet received a response.
Does not support reparations. You heard us say the Democratic Party does not support reparation, and Joe Biden supports if you do a study. Huh? And remember when Ann Coulter said that they dropped us and picked up the other ones? Is that what's been happening? And then yet they try to play the game when they did Brittany Griner. They try to make black women the one that helped her to get back, trying to divide us up and make it black women versus black men. And when they ain't doing shit for neither one of us. So that's what that whole game of dividing us up, feminism, whether your sexual preferences, loving another woman or a man, right? All that to keep you off of, don't deal with that the initial shit that you should do, right? Get off of that. Matter of fact, what about this? Remember that when that whole thing when that recording came out? You guys don't have to worry about me. You're gonna have to. You guys gonna have to worry about the Hispanics, huh? Wait a minute. We been here. We in line to get something. Wait a minute. You ever want somebody been in line? You been in the damn line waiting to get in some damn way, and people just they letting everybody butt in front of you. You don't try to say shit. You just be like, all right. Well, it can be too many, right? You be too many, but you just be like, hey, wait a minute, man. We in line too, right? They don't care about you being in line. Yeah, they got another plan every time. When you talking about somebody you being in line too damn long, well, guess what happens? Somebody else turn. We gonna get to you. Hold on. We gonna get to you. We gonna get to you. We gonna get to you. Right? Tell you right in your damn face, right? Tells lawmakers not to expect much on reparation legislation. He been holding that to us, right? Ain't that what Ann Coulter said? That the Democrats treat them like babies, treat them like children, and let everybody else commandeer when it comes to they step over in front of you, right? And then we always got to be saying something. Oh, the black and brown. Oh, we love everybody, but you can't get nobody on the other side to say that. Did you ever notice that? It's always a one-way conversation. You never hear that on that other side. Only if they amongst all of us and they grifting to do whatever they doing and they amongst us, then they be, yeah, we all, but when it's them, you don't hear that. You even hear a lot of them say out their damn mouth. They don't even know why we talking about reparation. We weren't here for that. Well, you couldn't even be here. You have nowhere to go. But you can't say that because it make you seem like you damn, something wrong with you. As a matter of fact, remember when those who've been avid watchers over here, remember when I showed you when he was sitting down with what's his name, Bruce Springsteen, and said that reparations was theoretical. It's theoretical. It's a theoretical talk. It ain't nothing no real tangible now. Well, we talk about it. We'll philosophize about it. But actually doing something about it, you got to be crazy. Okay, so with all that being said, okay, so when we go back to this time here, when you talk about them civil rights, when they were talking about ratifying the 13th Amendment of 1866, right? You would think it was like this.
Well, come on inside and get yourself something cool to drink. Bettina.
Yes, sir, Big Dad.
What's your Jimmy's name again? Django. Bettina Sugar, could you take Django there and take him around the grounds here and show him all the pretty stuff?
As you please, Big Dad.
Mr. Bennett, I must remind you, Django is a free man. He cannot be treated like a slave. Within the bounds of good taste, he must be treated as an extension of myself.
Understood, Schultz. Bettina Sugar?
Yes, sir.
Django isn't a slave. Django is a free man, you understand? You can't treat him like any of the other niggas around here because he ain't like any of the other niggas around here. You got it?
You want I should treat him like white folks?
No. That's not what I said.
Then I don't know what you want, Big Daddy.
Hey, you sitting here watching the video. Why you sitting there? Put your hand on that like button, click it, thumbs it up, share this video, comment. You can like or dislike it. We don't care about that. And also, if you ain't over here and subscribe, what you waiting on? Get yourself on there and subscribe to get on up to WeUpReport so you can stay up because we're going to keep you up. That's how you help keep this channel going. You can also do some monetary donations. We'll tell you about that later. But right now, wake yourself up, like, share, and comment. And don't forget, when you subscribe on that button, hit that put all notifications. You know how YouTube get down.
You know I need some money, gotta get the money, cause I need some cash. Hey, come on, gotta get it. You know I need the money, gotta get the money, cause I need some cash. Hey, come on, gotta get it.
'66, right? Matter of fact, I got a message. Let me get this message up here right quick with this brother here. Beautiful show, brother. Going to watch this one more again. One more again. You're going to do one more again. All right. Appreciate that, dear sir. Seven Spirits. I'm glad that you stopped by. I hope that you will subscribe and do all that other good stuff as well. Now, again, 1866, they talk about what now? Ratifying, right? Ratifying, right? Ratifying. So is that what they say again? Like she said, you want me to treat them like white folks? So is you free? So you get treated like white folk? No, that's not what I mean, right? So there's a difference in your freedom, right? There's a difference in the way they deal with us, right? Not the same. Because we can also look at the fact that when we say there was a Freedmen Bureau in 1865 and 1866, right? They said a Freedmen Bureau. What was a freedman? Was the freedmen those who was released for those in the South? Again, was it 11, 13 rebel nations? Were all of them considered freedmen? Were they? Because later on, when you look at it, they try to make it like there's a distinction. Like, okay, like they're talking about the Seminoles. You see, they are part of that. The Black Seminoles, the Black Freedmen were part of something during 1866 when they making these treaties with them and so forth. And I'm supposed to be going over there to Oklahoma. Oh, the sound dropped off. Am I still? Or am I still? Hold on. I see the brother showing me something. Oh, they done killed my sound. I probably killed my sound. Let me see. Hold on. Let me check out something. I see people leaving, so they might have gotten me. Hold on, let me try it again. Can you hear me again now, brother? Seven Spirit, can you hear me? Maybe they got me. They might have did it. I'm saying something that nobody wants to look at because what I want to show you, and I don't know if y'all can hear me. See, you send a message. Okay. Okay, I'm good now. Okay. All right, good. Thanks. Thanks a lot, brother. So again, they're showing us as being part of the treaties, but again, the language is murky. Matter of fact, you think about it when they talk about emancipation, didn't they call us freemen? It was the Freedmen Bureau where those of us, when we do our ancestors, we'll find some documents that some of our ancestors had filed for the Freedmen Bureau, right? And then remember the stipulation in that was they made an application fee. Now, wait a minute, how you gonna do an application fee when you know you just taking these people off plantations and stuff? Where are they gonna get money for an application fee? So, okay, so now you prohibit it. And then a lot of people talk about the 40 acres and the mule. Now, your homework gonna be go read about the treaties of the Choctaw, Seminoles, the 5 tribe nation. You can look it up. Read that treaty and see how freedmen were supposed to go over there and get their 40 acres and 40 acres from over there. This is where the 40 acres is coming from. That which was in South Carolina was something separate. What they did in South Carolina was separate. But this 40-acre part was over there in the treaty area of Oklahoma, along with $300,000 they had supposed to put away, and the land that ended up eventually being other people taking it that we never did get. And so I guess when they start changing names up, we lost all that. And now we came from that to being Negroes and color. You get what I'm saying? Changing you away from that. And some people talk about that William Plecker and how they had that whole thing of changing up names and designated some people who knew they was up there to now making them something else, right? With that being said, so all I'm saying to you is that, as she said about, okay, you ratifying them and they're supposed to be free. Now here is where the game is. Okay, let me show you something. You know, they talk about Dred Scott. You ever heard of Dred Scott? I remember Mike Huckabee said this, right? Mike Huckabee said this, right? He said, Dred Scott still law of the land. This wasn't back in 1910, 1920, 1960, 1990. This is a 2000. You might can see on your screen there, 15, I think, right? 2015. That's about 7 years ago. Mike Huckabee said that Dred Scott still law of the land. And if it's still law of the land, means you can't be a citizen. You can't be a citizen. None of these other folks can be citizens, according to them. And you're like, wait a minute, Mr. Bro, wait, hold on. What are you talking about, man? Well, let me show what it said. Let me give you some of the language that they wrote. A free Negro of African race whose ancestors were brought to this country and sold as slaves is not a citizen within the meaning of the Constitution of the United States. Say that one more again. A free Negro of the African race whose ancestors were brought to this country and sold as slave is not a citizen within the meaning of the Constitution of the United States. So guess what, y'all? As long as you keep saying that your story comes from where? That transatlantic slave? Long as you saying that, you're stateless people. Some people say, well, you got to go in and get your proper persona, go in there and get your paperwork and all that. But then you're going to take yourself from here and take yourself and be somewhere else. Well, you're more brother from Morocco. Now you're going to be a Moroccan citizen. You're not going to be a citizen from here, right? You go, as that one dude that was talking with Ann Coulter, talking about self-deportation. That's what you're going to do, self-deport yourself, right? So look what else it says. It says, when the Constitution was adopted, they were not regarded in any of the states as members of the community which constitute the state, and were not numbered among its people or citizens. Consequently, the special rights and immunities guaranteed to citizens do not apply to them. And not being citizens within the meaning of the Constitution, they are not entitled to sue in the character in the court of the United States. Well, let me move that brother, move that out the way. Hold on, move that brother out the way. Okay, move that out the way. There you go. State and the circuit court has not jurisdiction in such a suit. Okay, now, so at this time we're talking about Dred Scott. That's what it's saying. You cannot be a citizen. One, because you said that your people came here, you were brought here, your ancestor people who were slaves and of African descent, you can never be a citizen. That's what that's saying, right? And that those that can only be citizens are only those who the Constitution, who were considered of the state. And what was the state? The 13 colonies. The 13 colonies was the state. Those of the original, those people can only be the ones that be a state, a citizen according to the Constitution. You were not counted. Matter of fact, according to the provisions of that Constitution, only two positions hold for you and I. One, property. Two is the other one. Okay? So when I go back and I show you what Donald Trump was saying, what is Donald Trump saying? Why is Donald Trump saying this? Hold on, go back up there. Go back up there. Show that. Everybody show that. Hold on. Go back, show that. When Donald Trump said that, what is Donald Trump talking about? Is he trying to do something to take something away and trying to bring something back? Because they gotta, in order for you to get rid of this, there's a reason. But I haven't showed you the other one part yet. Because before you got to 1866 to do the 13th Amendment, do you not know there was an original 13th Amendment before that one? Let me say that one more again. Do you not know before the 13th Amendment, the one that they said they ratified that made you supposed to be not a slave anymore? There was already an amendment prior to that one. Okay, let me go ahead and put that up there for you. Okay. All right, brother. I see. Was that Rocky Slaves? Say less? Okay. One more again. There you go. One more again. There you go. So what is Trump saying? Trump saying get rid of this because maybe, right? Maybe there's something that's in the spirit of that. So you can't get, now just listen to what I'm saying now. You can't get reparated because the spirit in the document says something that I'm going to show you that this where you heard it first right here. If you hear me, you was chosen to hear this. Bet your bottom dollar on that. No one's going to tell you what I'm about to tell you. Those other people know this though. But I'm talking about us. We don't talk like this, right? So if 1866 they tell you was the ratification of the 13th Amendment, but I'm telling you, no. That's the front. That's in front of it. There's something behind it that you don't know that's there. What you talking about, Mr. Block? Man, what did you talking about? What I'm talking about? Ah, yeah. All right, let me show you what I'm talking about. We almost on that 2-hour moment. So I'm gonna go ahead because I'm gonna try to get into 2 this time, right? Let me show you something that you might have not known. Most likely you didn't know. Huh? Let me show you something, huh? You ever heard of this? A proposed 13th Amendment to prevent secession in 1861? Did you ever hear about this? That there was a proposed 13th Amendment. Now, the way they trying to write it, they're trying to make it sound the way that it was just proposed. No. Let me show you the document, what it look like. Look. The Joint Resolution 80. Joint Resolution 80. And let me show you what it says in some of these sections here. Okay? Let me show you something. Section 9 says this. And be it further enacted that all slaves or persons who shall hereafter be engaged in rebellion against the government of the United States, or who shall in any way give aid or comfort thereto, escaping from such persons and taking refuge within the lines of the army, and all slaves captured from such persons or deserted by them and coming under the control of the government of the United States, and all slaves of such persons found or being within any place occupied by rebel forces and afterwards occupied by the forces of the United States shall be deemed captives of war and shall be forever free of their servitude and not again held as slaves. You know I'm going to say that one more again, right? And be it further enacted that all slaves, a person who shall hereafter be engaged in rebellion against the government of the United States, or who shall in any way give or comfort thereto, escaping from such persons and taking refuge within the lines of the army, and all slaves captured from the such persons or deserted by them and coming under the control of the government of the United States, and all slaves of such persons found on or being within any place occupied by rebel forces, and afterwards occupied by forces of the United States shall be deemed captives of war and shall be forever free of their servitude and not again held as slaves. Now, what'd you say, Mr. Blow Your Mind? Well, they saying in section 9 is this. All of us, those of us who are lineage, who have history tied to the South, our lineage go back to the South, right? That who they deemed, they say, was slaves, right? This 1861 proposed 13th Amendment is talking about when they come upon us and so forth, we get that right, we're going to become captives of war. Maybe you'll be talking about prisoners of war. Well, there's the document to show you prisoners of war. You're captives of war. But some people only going to hear the part that says, the last part, forever free of the servitude and not again held as slaves. But is that talking about who they took you from? Are they talking about the people who they took you from? They're not talking about now that you captives of war from them. They're talking about the ones we took you from. You're no longer theirs anymore, right? You're no longer theirs anymore. You're captives of war. Did they not say that? Captives of war. Okay, we're gonna clean this up. We're gonna clean it up. Section 10. And be it further enacted that no slave escaping into any state, territory, or the District of Columbia from any other state shall be delivered up or in my way impelled or, I can't barely see that, y'all, so that's why I'm slowing up. Hunkered of this liberty, except for crime or some offense against the law, unless the person claiming said fugitive shall make oath that the person to whom the labor or service of such fugitives is alleged to be due to his lawful owner. He's still talking about your ass a slave and has not borne arms against the United States in the present rebellion, nor in any way given in comfort thereto in my no person engaged in the military or Navy service of the United States shall, under no pretense whatever, look like I can't see what that is, to decide on the validity of the claim of any persons of the service and labor of any of other persons. Okay, now you read that on your screen, you can probably see it better than I can see it. But the point there is, what they're setting up is, they're setting the parameters of what this 13th Amendment is about if you should leave and if you go with somebody who's going to keep you, as long as they can oath and they can claim that you own to them. Now, wait a minute, what are you trying to say, Mr. Blow Your Mind? What I'm trying to tell you, I'm going to show you the rest as I'm talking. Let me show you 11. That's 10. Let you see 11. What I'm saying to you is the 1861 13th Amendment, they voted in a joint 80 session. The Senate and the House voted on, President signed, that slavery would be only the states would have jurisdictions, and that federal or Congress could not overturn it. Federally, slavery still exists. Stately, they tell you, oh, if you just go to jail. Only if you go to jail, slavery exists, right? But technically, federally, slavery still exists. You can go in there and see for yourself. Slavery still exists. The 13th Amendment is the front part, just trying to make you say, oh, only if you go to jail. But they went in there, Congress, House and the Senate voted on it, that the federal government cannot overturn it. No legislation can overturn it, and that only the states can have it. If 3/4 of them decide they want it, they can have it. Guess what? That's still sitting there dormant, y'all. It's still on the books right now. right now. And let me show you something that came out recently. Let me show you recently that it was on the books that a sister came in, right? Let me show you. This sister came in there. Democrats push abolition amendment to fully erase slavery from U.S. Constitution. Why? Okay, if something is part dead, does it still exist? No slavery is no slavery. Part slavery means slavery still exists. But I'm telling you, go look at that 1861, go read sections 9 through 12, and go see what that is. Matter of fact, it's called the Corwin Amendment. Corwin. Now, some people will come and say, "Hey, man, they didn't ratify it." Ratification just means the states have to adhere to it. That's all ratification is. So there is on the books, the Corwin Amendment, the original 13th Amendment, slavery is still in effect. It's only not because of the states. If the states ever get to the point and say, you know what, we want it back, all they got to do is get 3/4 for the states to vote it, and it's good. All you need is 3/4. It ain't abolished, it ain't repealed, it's sitting there dormant. Break the glass in case of emergency. Break the glass in case of emergency. All these people coming here. Where the hell are you going to work at? And you're slowly going back in the South. They coming down there too. They steady bringing more and more and more and more. I'm just, It's still on the book. Federally, it's still legal. Why you probably think you do 85% of the damn time in the Fed? Because, you understand? Why you think you do 85 in the Fed? So what they doing is they making it look like you say, well, okay, if you go to jail, but it's state amendment. If the states decide to do it, it's there. And this sister put that up there to try to take that away, right? That sister put that up there. And she's gone now. She's gone. You get what I'm saying? Church, right, bro? Church. We know how they work. That thing been sitting there, 1861, 161 years? That thing been sitting there for 161 years. They know, them other folks know this. Them peoples know this. It's our people don't know that. Now that you know that, you have to be always vigilant. You got to be watching. What? Okay, so when Donald Trump came out and said that, he talking about that Constitution, what are you talking about? And maybe there we go. All right. So you know that other cat trying to run, right? I ain't got to say his name. He trying to run, right? He remember he tried to come here and be the vice president, right? Maybe this cat. Okay, let me show who y'all talking about. Let me show y'all, because some of you maybe he up to something. That this guy right here, you see that guy in there? You see that guy in there? Maybe he owns something. You get what I'm saying? Oh, you can't hear? Can you hear me now, bro? I know I went out for a second. Maybe I'm back. I think I'm back. Maybe this guy knows something, y'all. Maybe he knows what I'm telling you, and he wants to do, he want to come in there because, they demonizing him, making him what he is, right? Let me see what the bro say. Okay, you got it? Okay, yes, sir. Okay, all right. So maybe he wants to come in there and he wants to do this. That was love dealing, double dealing, 2-time, no good something. Maybe somebody knows something. Orange Man decides to say, you know what? We got to get rid of that thing. Oh, I didn't even tell you about the Constitution, did I? Oh, you know that the Constitution was embedded with it. You know that slavery is embedded in the Constitution, right? Remember when it said about only those who could be citizens was those of the state? They got special privileges and immunities, right? And that the only two things that you, who were not numbered, that were part of it, can only be a slave or property. So it's enshrined in the Constitution that you can only be a slave. So maybe this guy is saying this because maybe he wants to get rid of that because you need a new doctrine. And they saying they was going crazy that he's saying and said, wait a minute, if you do that, then it's equality. It'll be equal. Maybe somebody don't want that, even though people keep saying they do it. But see, there's some magic in there. There's some magic in something in legislation and laws that somebody knows something that you just don't know. But you go look, you're going to find out that federally slavery is still existing and that they can't do anything to overturn it. So what they're doing is they use a state. We are only state citizens because you can only be a state citizen because federally, they already sealed that deal. So it's all about state. So this brother Rocky Slayer says what now? He says 14th Amendment, Clinton made blacks property, I believe. I think you was already property before Clinton. You was already property from when the inception of 1787, and then when 1789 came, they already had made us that. It's already was enshrined. Matter of fact, let me give you another little secret that people don't talk about. You know, they always talk about that. What's that? The 1820 compromise. What they talking about? Oh, 3/4, right? Everybody talk about that, or 3/5 of a right. They always talk about that. You know what they covering? You know the fact that what they not covering though? What they ain't really talking about? Do you know that they had 20 years to end slavery and they didn't do it? Oh, you didn't know that? That's the part that they cover up. When they talk about that 3/5 compromise, go look and see what it says. 20 years they're supposed to abolish slavery from 1787. So 1808, it was going to abolish already slavery. But they kept going. They kept going. You see? You got to study the game to know the game. You got to know it. It ain't about all this hate. No, you got to go do that. Yes. It was already enshrined. So that whole thing about emancipation, all that, man, ain't nothing else need to be said. I done said it all. Ain't nothing else to be said. Go look for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Go look for yourself. And then you'll be like, that brother was telling the truth. Corwin Amendment. And go find out. Go read all that. And you'll see. The game's still on, y'all. The game ain't went nowhere. That's why you still feel it at times. You be like, things don't be making sense. And somebody could sit in a hotel and people walk up to me. You belong in here? People tell you, oh, it's 2020. They ain't got nothing to do with it. It was already enshrined. And guess what? They know that already. So guess what? It is what it is. But this is the most hated show in YouTube, on YouTube. I'm the most hated show. Can you believe I've been going around for 11 years? I can't get 100 views. Most of y'all probably know why. You could be around this damn long and can't get 100 views. Yeah, I suck that damn bad. Yeah, I'm just saying this. I'm not saying that he do suck, but I'm the Kwame Brown of YouTube. Right? I'm the Kwame Brown, how they try to portray Kwame Brown. But I ain't saying that he was that. I'm just saying the betrayal, the way if you look, you be like, man, nobody be watching him, man. He can't even get 100 views. You have to ask yourself why. Just like Kwame will tell you about how they was doing him and what they did. I'm doing the same thing. Right? But anyway, yes, all BS. when you really study the game for what it is. But guess what? It is what it is. And as I'm about to go ahead and get about, because I only want to go 3 this time. Let me show you something. Let me show you this on my way out. And those who here, let's see who I got to say. Okay. Okay. I see you be putting that information out. I'm watching. All right. Okay, Rocky, say less. Say less. Now saying that sales. How about sales or say less? But anyway, I'm glad you're here, brother. And on this end of this, I'm gonna end it out on this. Let him say everything that need to be said, because again, the thing is to that is either we are part of that treaty, right? When you're going back to the 5 nations, and again, we was in those territories that they did the treaties, and then they reneged, and then they didn't want to give us nothing, and then made us stateless people by renaming us and classifying us in this, and then having us this, and then according to when it was Dred Scott said, long as you admit the fact that your people came and was brought here from Africa and bought as slave, you never could be a citizen. So that just goes to show that everybody else that come here, they know, according to the game of the doctrine, the discovery doctrine, right? So when they went in their lands, they was barbarians and savages as well too. Now they get to come here and check the box white. Now they done forgot about all that took place, didn't they? They done forgot about all of that, and then leave like we the only ones that fall under. Ain't that something? That rude awakening, huh? When they said that nigga wake up call gonna come, and then they're gonna be looking at us. We're gonna be like, huh, we already knew what the game was. You ain't gotta tell me nothing, right? Sales, okay, sales, okay. Like Gale Sales, but you instead of have a G, yours is with a S, sales. Oh, I got you. All right. Appreciate you coming by, brother. Hope that you subscribe. See you come again. Love your comments. And matter of fact, we're gonna end on this. Because this brother said it, and everything he said, it is what it is. Okay, one more. What you got for me, bro? Pennsylvania. Okay, so you got, okay, that were your people from Pennsylvania? You on that other track then, huh? You went in that South track. You went in that Pennsylvania track, huh? That New York stuff. You answer might be from New York. Okay, I got you. Appreciate you coming through. No, I'm gonna have it set up. I used to have my phone in here, but like I said, man, they work so hard for me doing what I'm doing. But this brother here is gonna tell it like your TI is, and let's see if I can get him to say it. Check this out. Be right back.
Sport doesn't follow society, because in sport we do look at each other as equals and as human beings. Except for when they're talking about hiring people in management.
All right. The Rooney Rule still don't come through yet. I mean, we gotta go.
But on the playing field, it's about who we as human beings, who can help us win, right? And that's what Red Auerbach and Bill Russell stood for. Now, when they walked outside of the arena, then they had to make the choice. Do they accept the construct, again, of race? And if you accept the construct of race, then on top of that, you are allowed to have racism when you accept the construct of race. But if we all are human beings, then we can't have racism or racist.
You know, when we look at, so I'm like you guys, I celebrate American history, which is our history, every month out the year. And I hope that for parents and kids that go home, now we have the internet, now we have tools at our hand. And no, you aren't being taught Black American history in schools, but now we can still go out and find that history. It's not like when we grew up and maybe it was buried someplace in the encyclopedia. All you got to do is go type in some words and you can get it right now and understand where you've come from and how special you are.
Can I just end with this one thing? These 4 brothers sitting here, we didn't all come from Africa. And there was a country before 1492. And our history goes way beyond 1492. So you can't start us at 1492. We were always here. We were always here. We were always here.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.